Hello, 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 and welcome. Or actually, no, I can't do that because the copyright is taken by William Liu. So I'm going to say hey and welcome to the Raptors. If you haven't been here before, this is the official Raptors Republic live post-game show where we recap, we dissect, and we have some fun talking about the latest Raptors game. I'm your co-host, Sahal Abdi, here with none other than the man, the myth, the legend, or
No.
always wanted to do that. Our co-host, Oren Weisfeld. Oren, tonight, the Raptors won again, man. They defeated the Brooklyn Nets 114-103, and that brings the Raptors record to 24-34 on the season. I'm not sure exactly, Oren, where these guys stand in the Eastern standings. I'm pulling it up as we speak. They are 12th, just half a game behind the Wizards and the Bulls for the 10th seed, and a couple games behind the Pacers for the 9th seed. So, Oren, this was a fun game. I mean, of course, we didn't get to see, the all-star trio and James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie. We really only got to see Kyrie, who, by the way, if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, Kyrie Irving is on an MVP level right now. He's a guy who's averaging 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists on 50% shooting from the field. Actually, better than 50% shooting. I think last time I checked, I think it was a couple days ago, he was at 52%, 40% from three, and 90+% from the free throw. So he's at a 50, 40, 90 clip right now. Shout out to Kyrie. Nobody's talking about him at all for the Nets, the second seed Nets, I should say. He is definitely playing at an MVP level. So that's who the Raptors were up against. But on the Raptors side, Oren, they got back good old friend Kyle Lowry. They got back our good old friend OG Anunoby and Fred VanVleet. So that's good to see. And I think in this game, Oren, we could all agree that this was the one where the Raptors were like, you know what, let's go on a run now. We got our full team. Khem Birch is that new front court guy everyone's talking about. Freddie Gillespie's there, who had a huge game, 4 blocks. I'm excited, man. It looked like, Gary Trent is there. The whole team's healthy, man. And a certain guy didn't get playing time, which I'm happy about. Again, nothing personal, but it is what it is. Oren, I've been talking for way too long. I'm getting cotton mouth. What did you think about the game?
Yeah, I feel like it was good enough proof that the Raptors are not tanking.
Mm-hmm.
Because we kind of said last game, we'll see what happens with this game in terms of who they play and who's no longer resting. And yeah, it seems like, more and more that they were kind of resting guys to gear up for one more run here. And the fact that they had everyone healthy against the Nets, one of the best teams in the league, a team that they could play in the first round of the playoffs, shows me at least that they want to make a push. They want to make a push for the play-in game or the playoffs. And that's pretty much my biggest takeaway from just the fact that everyone was healthy. But it was a great game from the starters. Like, they've been through so much this year in terms of injuries and COVID, and then just having off nights and getting killed in the media. And it was just happy. I was happy to see them play so well together. The first quarter was obviously rusty, but after that, especially in the third quarter, which this season the Raptors have really struggled in, mm-hmm. They killed it in the third quarter, the starting group. They looked great with Birch there. Made a ton of sense. Siakam had a great game. OG had a great game. Kyle and Fred kind of came on late and started hitting shots and had a good second halves. And that was all they really needed against like this depleted Nets team. Kyrie, we should talk about because he killed it. He was unbelievable. Like, it wasn't just even shooting; it was also creating for his teammates. Kyle and Fred, who are usually good point guard defenders, could not stay in front of Kyrie. I thought actually the biggest change the Raptors made this game was putting OG on Kyrie. I thought that really bothered him, and that was probably the biggest defensive thing the Raptors did all night to kind of slow the Nets down. Kyrie struggled with that size on him, and I thought that was the biggest thing for them.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like, Oren, with Kyrie, To me, he's one of the very, 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 very few unguardable players in this league. Like, as much as we can say OG did a better job than Kyle and Fred, I don't feel comfortable with anybody, maybe in the entire league, on Kyrie. You can argue he has maybe the best dribble package in the league's history, one of the best dribblers, one of the best finishers in the league's history at the rim, his ability to contort his body, his balance. Kyrie's a complete player, man. He's just
He's so
complete.
fun to watch, man.
He's fun. He's exciting. Like I said, with his shot profile, a guy who shoots a ton of mid-range jumpers, who attacks the rim, who shoots threes, how is he shooting 52% from the field this season? How? Like, it just doesn't make sense with his shot profile. He's shooting 40% from three in this game.
And it's these looks around the it's these looks around the rim that surprised me the most in terms of how he can shoot so efficiently. Like, he's like a 6'2" max guard, and yet he can score around these trees with consistency just because he has so many crafty finishes. But this play was really ridiculous that he scored here.
It's my fault.
So we can watch him.
Almost got a call.
That was like a double. That was like a double pump to the point where he was literally about to touch the ground and get called for it, and right before he touches the ground, he just puts up like a floater that somehow goes in. So like no one on the Nets played particularly well other than Kyrie, but Kyrie single-handedly kept them in the game down until the very last moment. So he deserves a ton of credit. Like just the way that Kyrie has kind of carried himself this season, I think we don't talk about enough. I know you have been on Twitter kind of giving him his MVP flowers. And while I wouldn't go that far, he entered the season saying he's not going to talk to the media, and then obviously got backlash for that. And then just like has very quietly not boosted about his game, not done any of that, just quietly gone about winning games for his team, being the most durable net in terms of the big three, playing the most games, creating for his teammates, scoring efficiently himself. Like, I think he's had a great bounce back year after, surgery last year, and he deserves more credit than he's getting.
He deserves a lot of credit. And this 50-40-90 thing, by the way, this isn't an anomaly. Or if you look at his career stats the last few years, he's really been a damn near close to 50-40-90 guy the last 3-4 years. Like, I'm talking legitimately the last 4 seasons, he's been hovering around 50-40-90, and it doesn't make sense. Again, I think this is the best year of his career. I don't know if you guys could read that all that well, but I made a couple tweets where, I genuinely believe that Kyrie Irving is firmly in my top 10 MVP rankings, and he's climbing.
Top 10,
not ready to say top 5 because there's so many really, really good players this year. Steph Curry's going off. Giannis is having another MVP season. He's probably not going to win it just off of voter fatigue, but he's having arguably his best season ever. James Harden on the Nets as well is having a great season. Obviously, the two bigs that most people are talking about, Jokic and Embiid, are having great years too. But if you look at the next tweet, like, really, tell me about another time anyone was talking about a 27, 6, and 5 guy, 50-40-90, leading a second team. He's having the best year of his clear-cut, what I think is a clear-cut Hall of Fame career. I don't know, Oren. I don't know, man. I genuinely think that this Kyrie guy is being overlooked by a lot of people, and it could be a media member thing where, some fans don't like him, some fans don't for whatever reason. They don't like him. Media members don't like him for, his past.
That's for sure true.
Quarrels with the media, but
I like his little afro this year. I like the mini fro too.
The fro, the beard, he's doing it all. Kyrie's a great player.
Yeah. And the other guy I'll shout out on the Nets before we get to the Raptors is Bruce Brown, who I thought was really good. 8 for 14 rebounds on the night.
For sure.
He's a pretty unique player who's like the size of a 2, but plays like a 4 or 5 for them. So shout out to him. I thought he was good. But yeah, the Raptors, that third quarter stretch was incredibly impressive. The starters did it. Like, the bench was obviously left a lot to be desired. because Nurse was trying to play these bench lineups, basically like 2 hockey lineups with 5 guys, Boucher, Gillespie, Watanabe, Flynn, and Trent, and
Yeah.
they couldn't get anything going. And it kind of made sense to play them together just because they've been playing together a lot in these past few games with the starters out, but he probably won't do it again if they're fully healthy, because you saw, and I hope Boucher's healthy, but you saw as soon as Boucher went down, they put Siakam in the game, and Siakam completely turned around that lineup. It's just important to have at least one starter with them. And like looking at the points of the bench, 5 points is the most anyone scored off the bench all night. So, that's usually a problem for the Raptors, but tonight the starters were able to overcome it, and especially OG and Siakam, who 27 and 25 points really carried them. Who do you want to talk about first out of those two?
Well, you mentioned Bruce Brown, and I'm going to get to OG and Siakam in a second, but Bruce Brown, I was kind of curious, Oren, because I know a lot of Nets writers on Twitter have been talking about Bruce Brown being one of the better rebounding guards in the league. And I was like, you know what? Let me just click this guy's name and see his last, few games. He had 14 rebounds tonight. He had 14 rebounds tonight, Oren.
Yeah.
The game before that, 11 rebounds. The game before that, 11 rebounds. So 36 rebounds in his last 3 games as, I don't know, maybe a 6'5 guard, 6'4, 6'5 guard. Shout out to Bruce Brown. But OG and Siakam, I think OG for me was my player of the game. And that doesn't take away from what Siakam did in this game. I think Siakam was amazing. 10 for 19, 27 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Honestly, at this point, you're insane if you don't think Siakam's one of the best playmaking forwards, whatever you want to call them, forwards, front court players in the league. He sees the floor so well. He was a plus 16 in this game, second highest to Lowry in this game. I was excited, man.
Let's do OG first. Okay,
Yeah.
Let's do OG first, though. This was ridiculous. I feel like this was very underrated.
I know what you're showing right here. This was good. A little 1-2 step.
That's crazy.
Explode on I don't know who that was. Was that Joe Harris underneath the net? Who was that?
Yeah.
That was Joe Harris. This would have been a foul because Joe Harris clearly gets him on the arm as he's going up. Usually, I'm not a fan of NBA players falling every single time they dunk or lay it in. I feel like Fred VanVleet does that a lot. But, this one, he was fouled, and that is a poster. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, and he went up off one leg too, and I feel like this is when the Raptors kind of, Canadianness gets lost. This is when it hurts, because if this was like LeBron, this would be all over, whatever, Bleacher Report, all those. But since it's OG, it was probably not going to be national media. But I thought it was one of those type of dunks, just ridiculous from where he took off one leg, getting fouled, like you said.
He's legit, man.
OG had a great game. I mentioned defensively, kind of taking Kyrie in the second half and just giving him a lot of trouble with his length. They started setting these back screens. DeAndre Jordan would set it for Kyrie just to get OG off him, but he was still doing a good enough job contesting the shots from behind that Kyrie was having trouble. And then offensively, obviously, his shot making was crucial in the first half. 4 for 9 from 3. He was really the only one starting off the game shooting well, and that was really important to keep them in it. He did some stuff with the ball that was impressive. But, it was nice to see OG with all the starters around him. There's a very different dynamic right now than there used to be in the past, where as recently as last year, OG was the 5th option in the starting groups, right? You had Mark or Serge, regardless, and then Norm even or the other 4. Those guys all had a higher usage than OG, and now we're really seeing them make a point of getting OG involved. And it's he's now the 3rd option, I would probably argue, even ahead of Kyle a lot of the time. It's Siakam, Fred, and then OG. And that's also why Birch works in those lineups, because he's a clear 5th option. He doesn't need the ball. He'll just clean up mistakes or whatever, but he's not going to demand it. So it's kind of just nice to see how they've really made a point to incorporate OG in the offense. He obviously deserves it with the steps he's made. And this was a good example of a game where the starters were back, but they did not shy away from going to him.
Yeah, I'm with you with the 3rd option thing, because I think Kyle's at the point, I think, in his career where we're not necessarily seeing regression, but in terms of the scoring load, it's not what it used to be for Kyle. The team doesn't really look to Kyle to be that guy for them. Whereas if you rewind, 4 or 5 years ago, it was really just Kyle DeRozan and the rest of Toronto. And then as soon as, I should say, as recent as Kawhi Leonard was on this team, Kyle Lowry could still be that guy in certain games. And I think Kyle Lowry's still, I'm not taking anything away from him. Offensively, he's still due for his explosions. He's still, I think, still one of the best shooters in the league in terms of off the dribble, catch and shoot, everything. But I think Kyle is starting to realize he doesn't need to be that guy, because as he's, I don't want to say regressing, because it's too harsh of a word for me, Oren, right now for Kyle. But you can say it. As he's regressing, OG is progressing, and the rest of these guys are progressing. Fred VanVleet has become a much better player. He was a borderline all-star, this past season. Siakam's been an all-star. I don't know, man. I feel like it's coming to a time now where we're starting to see a shift in the team where you don't necessarily need, when everyone's healthy, you don't need to rely on Siakam. You don't need to rely on Fred to have a great game. Like some teams rely on their guys. Like I was watching Portland the other night, Oren, and not their last game, I believe it was the game before that, and they looked completely lost without Damian Lillard. Yeah. Damian Lillard wasn't in the game, and they just look like, where's our guy? And the Raptors don't really have that guy. You can argue maybe it's Siakam, but some nights it's Siakam, some nights it's Fred, some nights it's Kyle, and tonight it was OG. So, yeah, and I think it's easier also for Nick Nurse, where he can just draw up as many plays as he wants for guys that, may not be struggling. If Fred's having a bad shooting night, draw up a play for Siakam. If Siakam and Fred are having bad shooting nights, okay, let's go to Kyle. Let's go to OG. Now you got a pretty damn good front court player in Khem Birch. And people will say, you know what, Sahal? Well, Khem Birch, he's not even really that good. It's just whoever, the Australian guy just wasn't that great, and he's making him look all that great. And I'd argue with you, and I'd say, Khem Birch, to me, looks better than he ever did in Orlando.
Yeah, we're going to get to Khem Birch.
Yeah, that might be a coaching thing. Who knows? But Toronto looks complete, man. I don't want to go too far with this game because, again, Durant's missing. We saw James Harden in what looked like, I'm not going to get at his outfit, Oren, but if you remember, Dickies, you remember those Dickies pants people used to wear way back in the day?
Yes.
Yeah, it looked like he had some crazy Dickies outfit on. I don't know if it was Dickies or what it was, but he looked like he was just constructing a condo in Toronto.
He looks funny with the beard and the black mask covering it.
Just the beard just sticking out.
Yeah.
Out of the mask like that. Yeah, no. Yeah, OG, great game. Siakam, fantastic game. I think we were not even talking about Fred, who was probably the best player in the third quarter for Toronto, went on a single-handed 9-0 run. Fred VanVleet, so shout out to him. He did a great job, was just bombing away. There was a point where he caught it on the elbow, shot it immediately, hit it, and Kyrie's looking at, it might have been Bruce Brown or Joe Harris. He was looking at him like, why are you guys still giving him space? He just hit a 3 on you the possession before. Why are you still giving him that space to shoot? So I'm not going too far, guys listening and people, everybody watching, I'm not going too far. I'm not going to say Toronto's playoff bound. I'm not going to say I already see Chris Willis saying Toronto will win the championship. I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say any of that. Toronto looks complete. They look damn good. But I've always said, and Oren has maintained this as well, that when Toronto's fully healthy, they are a playoff team. It's really that simple. And now I think they've gotten better. They're more balanced. They have 2 real front court options in Gillespie and Birch. They have Gary Trent Jr., who's one of the best knockdown shooters in the league. And then they have Kyle, Fred, OG, and Siakam, right? So I don't know, man. Oren, I'm hype. I love it. This is the first time we got to see this team healthy in quite a while. So I'm excited, man. I'm so excited. I genuinely feel that there could be a run that could be had here.
I feel the same way. And it was funny, like on Twitter, people were freaking out after the first quarter, being like, where are those playoff people now? The people who want to go to the playoffs, like, this is what you wanted. Everyone's healthy and look how bad they look. And like, I expected that. And I was actually really impressed with how they got their shit together this game. Like, as the game went on, 4 guys who haven't played together at all recently. Like, we have not had the big four healthy in months, honestly. to figure it out within the same game against a good team was impressive. They figured out how to kind of share the ball. Like at the first quarter, I was saying it looked like really bad because it looked like everyone wanted to take turns. There was no hierarchy. It was just guys trying to get their rhythm back. So one guy would take a turn, then the next guy would take a turn. And the bench kind of struggled with that, like Flynn and Trent. They kind of struggled with that. But the starters, they really figured it out as the game went along. And I was ready to get mad when the Nets started making a comeback because they were shying away from Siakam, who I felt like was the only guy who was consistently like getting good looks for himself, for his teammates all game. But then the last few possessions, they went to him and he did the same things he was doing all game. So like I was going to get mad because the blueprint against the Nets is out. Like you beat them inside, you beat them with guys like Siakam, who can go inside and attack DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin off the dribble. And for a while they shied away from that in the fourth, but they went right back to it. And, 10 for 19, 2 of 5 from 3. I thought Siakam was really, really excellent, especially considering he had like 5 games off or 5 days off. So yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about Chris Boucher, Oren, because I know a lot of people are mentioning him in the comments. A lot of people are worried, and rightfully so. Chris Boucher, we did see go down with an injury in this game. It looked scary. Whenever you see a player grabbing their knee, it's not a fun sight for anyone, for the player itself, for the team, for the staff. It's not fun. And Chris Boucher's been a guy that's been a constant, competitor, a constant productive player for this team. And again, like I said, it's not fun to see Chris Boucher go down. It's not fun to see any player go down. As far as we know, Chris Boucher it's not like a season-ending injury. I'm about to pull up the clip right now, but what did you think about Chris Boucher before the game? Because Nick Nurse, was quoted as saying that the best version of this Toronto Raptors team comes with Chris Boucher somewhere in the lineup. That could be a thing where it could be him just telling the truth and giving his honest opinion. And it also could be a thing, Oren, where he's trying to get Chris Boucher's confidence up. I don't know which one it is. I don't know if you believe that. But I feel like Chris Boucher, to me, has done enough this season where if the Raptors do eventually get to the playoffs, he's going to be a guy and they're going to rely on quite a bit. So, again, it is a knee injury. Again, very unfortunate for Chris Boucher. Like I said, it doesn't look like it's season ending.
Yeah.
They are saying it's a knee sprain, Oren, which is good. So.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate about it, and people can watch it if they didn't see it. But Blake is saying that Boucher is heading for an MRI. He said that 10 minutes ago, so we'll see. Maybe probably later tonight. I don't want to speculate. But I agree with the Nurse that the team definitely almost needs Chris Boucher. Like you saw that earlier in the season when his scoring was pivotal off the bench. And yeah, Trent and Flynn, they've improved as the season has gone along. They can give you something off the bench too, but from the big man position, just having Boucher there, he's also made big offensive strides recently. So I definitely think like this Raptors team is only going to beat you by committee. They're not going to beat you. They're not going to beat you by one superstar. So I think they need everyone. Like maybe not, in every series kind of thing with Chris Boucher, but he could certainly help you a couple games in a series or whatever. So I hope he's okay. But
I do too. Yeah, I hope he's okay as well. The Raptors announced, I think, just this Blake Murphy tweet came right after the Raptors announced that he was out with a left knee sprain. But, as recent as 14 minutes ago now, Blake Murphy did say that, Chris Boucher is going in for an MRI. So,
and the reason I think he's so necessary in the playoffs too is because, as much as I like Birch and Gillespie, and we're about to get into them, I got some clips on them. As much as I like those two, there's just certain lineups that you want to go 5 out, especially if there's like a slow center and you want to bring him away from the rim. So in those type of situations, that's when you really need a Chris Boucher. Oh, Zarar, our Chris Boucher, our Chris Boucher correspondent is in the house.
I mean, I saw the Chris Boucher talk, and I had to get in, man.
Yeah.
Because I just want to make one point on Chris Boucher. Like, have you noticed since we have added Birch and Gillespie to the team, Boucher doesn't have to really like compete for the rebounds on every single possession. Yeah. Like, he doesn't have to wear himself down against bigger guys all the time, which leaves him no energy to do anything else. But now that you have Birch in there, like, you see him getting offensive rebounds a lot because he actually has the energy to play basketball for a full, whatever, 25, 30 minutes he plays. Yeah. Before, he had none of that. Like, he was outmatched physically, and he didn't really have the energy to do a lot of things. Now that you got these two other guys, it's elevated Boucher's game to like a whole new level. And man, when he got hurt today, I don't know what the prognosis there is, but that is he's such a matchup nightmare for people.
Yeah.
Partially because of his 3-point ability, but partially because of the surprise factor. Even though he's been doing this all year, he still surprises people with a lot of the things he does. So, man, I don't know about you guys. I was just heartbroken to see that guy go down.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah, it was scary. It was nice to kind of see him walk off the court. That was promising, but it is scary. And I agree with you. Like, since he started playing the 4 more, he's just looked more naturally in his position. And he is a matchup nightmare because if you stash your 5 on him, he's just quicker than almost any 5 off the dribble. They have to close out now on him. And you've seen recent games. He's now so much more comfortable taking big men off the closeout and just putting it on the floor and making things happen for his teammates or at the rim. So he's important. He's played himself into that.
This is like the Birch effect, right? I mean, Blake had a pretty funny tweet. He goes like, Kyle's like making the most of having a center with hands, right? and that, like, I laughed out loud when I read that one. Yeah. And like there's a effect which a proper center has on everybody on the lineup. With Boucher we talked about, with Kyle we talked about. And everybody's game is just a little bit higher because they have to worry a little bit less about other areas on the court. And I don't know about you guys, but at this point, I'm picking the Raptors to maybe take the Sixers in, I don't know, 5 or 6. I mean,
okay.
I don't know.
I'm saying 4. It's a sweep. We got them in 4.
Oh, wow. We've got the optimism is beaming out of this show right now. I'm not ready to go there.
Put yourself, Sahal, put yourself in the Sixers position right now. Right?
Exactly.
You work really hard all year to compete for the first spot. You're like,
wait, sorry. Let me cut you off. They take it back to 2019. You're the Sixers. You lose to Toronto on a Kawhi Leonard buzzer beater. You have a terrible year last year. This year, you finally think you got your shit together. You play to the 1 seed. You play so well to the 1 seed. And who do you get in the first round? The Raptors. It's good.
It's meant to be.
I think just psychologically, that's got to be
exactly.
And you know, no matter what the Raptors' record is, the confidence level that they would have entering that series is going to be way higher than what an average 8 seed would have. So if you believe that basketball is a game of confidence, advantage Raptors, man. You know what? Oren has convinced me in 4. Fuck it.
You know what? Me and Assad talk about this all the time because Assad's like this optimism that I'm seeing from you guys, it's nowhere. It doesn't even pale in comparison to Assad. Like we'd be on like a 5-game losing streak, and that guy would be like, so if this happens, Sahal, and then this happens, and then that happens after that, and then we beat this team.
We've been saying all year that if they just get a center, that would make everything fall into place.
That's true. And Assad's been on that 76ers bandwagon.
They're frauds, man. They are frauds. Regardless of if Toronto faces them or not, the 76ers are not going to the finals. That team is fraudulent. I just don't believe in them outside of Embiid.
One more point about Birch before I head out. So, did you guys? There's a play. I don't know if I have.
Okay, so I have 2 plays here. So go ahead.
It's the play where Siakam kind of ran, not Siakam, or maybe somebody ran a pick and roll with him. And he got too far, like he had an awkward position underneath the basket, and then he passed it out to Siakam for a 3.
Yeah, so this is what I wanted to highlight.
I think the tweet that I made was like he improvised. I think improvisation is in this one. I think this is the one. Yeah, that's the one, right?
That's insane.
Falling backwards. He's falling backwards as he makes that pass. So he has to think on his feet. He recognizes the situation on the floor, passes it to a guy on the other side of the court while falling backwards.
Yeah.
All I want to say is that he's more than just a guy pick up and dunk. Like, we talk about his hands being good and how he's improved things. He's more than that. Like, he can read the game really, really well. And this play is a perfect example where the initial play kind of broke down, but he's got the awareness on who's where on the court and can do this. Maybe I'm like pumping him up too much, but after like whatever 5 months of Aaron Baynes, man, it's I don't know. Maybe it's the vaccine. I got a vaccine today. I'm not sure.
Hey, vaccine!
Congrats.
Celebrate. That's
Congrats.
All right, that's all I want to say. Go back to the show. See you guys later.
All right, well, I was going to bring up the exact same point. Birch really impressed me as a playmaker tonight. So that was the play. And then I think this was only a couple of plays later from Birch. Same kind of deal in the pick and roll here, finding OG now, kind of getting out of bounds and finding OG in the corner. So I didn't know Birch had this to his game, to be honest with you. But the playmaking today was huge for the Raptors because, like, as we've seen with Marc Gasol, and even this is really a Serge Ibaka type pass that Serge only really learned in his last year with the Raptors to do consistently. And it opens up so much for this team, just the way they like to play, basically 4 out or 5 out. So
and also in this game, the Nets had a couple of guys out, but it's not like the Raptors really had, like, Gary Trent Jr. had a low key game. Like, it's not like
the whole bench did. 5 points off the bench is the highest scoring player off the bench for the Raptors.
Yeah, so it's not like the Raptors were at their best as well. So, man, if we use the tail end of the season to shore this thing up, man, sky's the limit.
We're not far away. We're not far away at all. Like I said, half a game behind for the 10th seed. I'll see you, those Gerard. That was a great entrance. That was a great entrance. I wanted to highlight this where Chris Willis, what an entrance by Zarar, mid-analysis. The guy came in with a bang and left with a bang. We appreciate shot. Zarar. That was great timing. That was fantastic timing. Khem Birch, man. Khem Birch.
So Khem was great, and then I also thought Gillespie was impressive. Like, 24 minutes for Gillespie, the same amount as Birch. So he's kind of played himself into Nick Nurse's trust. 5 blocks, and it's not even just the blocks, which were ridiculous on their own, but his presence at the rim is very, like, intimidating for guys. Even when he's not blocking shots, guys are shying away from going up when he's there, and his positioning is very good, so he's often there. And I thought that was just huge for the Raptors because they haven't had that all season. Like, usually they're the team struggling to score inside. Yeah. And today it was the Nets, other than Kyrie, who were really struggling to score inside. And that was because Birch and Gillespie. The only bad thing I have against Gillespie, and this isn't to, like, shit on him at all. This is just because as we've been doing these last couple of weeks, like, looking at it from a developmental standpoint, we just highlighted Birch's passing, so I think it makes sense to kind of show Gillespie here kind of fails. You know, he has to make this read to the corner. Is that Fred in the corner or Utah?
Yeah, that's Utah.
Utah in the corner. So he has to make that read in the corner, and he just takes kind of far too long to make it. But that's obviously an area for him to grow.
Yeah, for sure. And I never really, I kind of took it for granted, Oren, when, Ibaka in past years was in that situation and Marc Gasol, and they were so in tune with the system that Nick Nurse was running offensively, and they had this innate feel for where guys were on the court that would have been an automatic turnaround pass to the corner. And you're right, that's where Gillespie does struggle. This was a missed opportunity because Utah has showed that, he can hit that shot definitely when it's open, but instead now, Bruce Brown recovers. He has to drive, kicks it to Kyle. Kyle tries to find Pascal in the corner, but it's tapped out of bounds. Like, it just took too long. And overall, it's crazy because the NBA moves so fast, Oren. Like, that was maybe he probably had in his hands for maybe a second and a half.
Yeah,
maybe, like, if that. So, again, we showed a play just before where Khem Birch recognized that immediately, and he had his back towards Siakam, just like Gillespie did. But he knew he had that ability to immediately know that someone's in this corner. I can see, through my peripheral that there's a guy there. There's two guys here. I'm the fourth guy. There has to be a guy in the opposite corner behind me. He did like a back jump pass, and he found him.
Yeah. What do you think about this comment right here?
From Matthew Tabone, is Baynes the top 5 most hated Raptor of all time?
I don't think so.
Is he asking like my opinion?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, for me at least, he's not. I think he's been terrible as a Raptor, but I think like he's clearly like a nice guy, a hard worker. So it's hard for me to be like top 5 most hated, because at least he's a nice guy, and he seems like a good guy to have in the locker room, and he's been trying. He's definitely like been trying, and he's never like turned on anyone or gotten like frustrated outwardly. He's just been bad, so I can't go that far. How about
you? Can I go that far? Absolutely. I'll leave it at that. But also to me, like, again, this is my opinion, like, because Baynes to me is, again, great guy, great teammate. Like, he hasn't played in 5, 6, 7 games now. He hasn't stepped on the court, and you still see him giving those high fives. He's a good teammate. Like, no one's going to complain about how good of a human being he is. There's only been good even before he got here, Oren, to Toronto, or at least you could say to Tampa. Before he got here, Phoenix Suns fans, Boston Celtics fans, San Antonio Spurs fans, they only had good things to say about Aaron Baynes. So he's a great player, or I should say a great teammate. I had to correct myself right there. He's a great teammate, and I have nothing against him. Again, personally, it may sound like it sometimes, but I really don't. I'm just very happy to see productive basketball from the front court positions. But for me, man, I've seen more than enough. And with all due respect, I'm all for the Raptors' success. I'm all for the Raptors going as far as they can. And I just don't think him on the court is conducive to that. Whether, whether you say it's like he doesn't fit the system, or he's 36, if I'm not mistaken, or he might just be too old. Like, it just might be too far gone.
He got COVID recently.
Exactly. So,
yeah. Honestly, he's probably done in the league. But not even just Baynes. Baynes, Stanley Johnson, and DeAndre Bembry were the 3 healthy scratches tonight, and I'm happy about that. Like, if this can be the 10-man rotation, or if you want to sub in what's his name, Paul Watson Jr. for one of these guys, I'm happy with that. But otherwise, I like this lineup. I just think they definitely have to tinker with the rotations. Probably keep Kyle or Fred on the floor at all times, because that's just important for the way that they create shots. Like, that bench group just couldn't really get anything out of step back threes. Like, it was just kind of each guy taking his own shot. No one was creating for others. No one was getting to the rim at all. It was really ugly, to be honest. And they have to figure out that bench group, but
they do. But
that's the thing. If that bench group was going at the same time as the starters, like, if they can use these last 15 games to get the bench and the starters going simultaneously, then that's when they actually become a tough out in the playoffs. Because I was joking earlier, like.
Yeah. No, like, if I'm a fan of the 76ers, if I'm a fan of one of these top seeded teams, like, and I'm looking at the Bulls, the Raptors, the Pacers, I'm looking at all these 8 to 12 seeded teams, I don't want to face the Raptors fully healthy, because if you've watched the Raptors, if you've been, if you've known what's going on with the Raptors, they haven't had a healthy team all year. They really haven't, and they haven't developed a consistency in playing with one another. And now we're finally getting to see that. And guys like OG, Fred, and Kyle already have that chemistry, and Pascal, they already have that chemistry. Now it's learning how to play with the new guys, Gillespie, Khem Birch, getting Utah involved into the rotation. Who's gonna be that guy when Nurse wants to go 9 deep or even 8 deep against certain teams? Who's gonna be that guy? And I don't know. You said Bembry was a healthy scratch, and you're okay with that. I feel like Bembry's done a good job this year for what people expected of him this year. Yeah. This season he's done all right. He's been fine. Yeah, he hasn't been great, but he also hasn't been bad. He's just been. I think he's been good for Toronto in the role that they imagined him playing this season. And Bembry does bring some good things. He brings some playmaking. He brings some perimeter defense. Can you fit him into rotation though, Oren, when everyone's healthy? I don't know. I don't think so. Probably not. But that probably means you can't fit in Paul Watson either. Because if it were up to me, man, and I'm choosing between Bembry, Watson, Watanabe, and who am I forgetting? Malachi Flynn, like Gillespie, Boucher. Like I'm taking the obvious Boucher, Gillespie, Flynn, and then after those 8, it's like who else? Like I'm probably taking, obviously I'm taking Gary Trent Jr. as well. Sorry, so that's 9.
I don't know if I'm taking Gillespie in the playoffs because A, rookie big men, it's really hard to play in the playoffs.
I take that back.
I still think their small lineups, kind of putting Trent in there instead of Birch in the Powell spot. I think those could still be their best lineups in certain matchups. So I think it might make sense to kind of just go OG as the backup 5-man. Instead of Gillespie, because like he looks really good and he's impressed me to look so good on a 10-day, but the playoffs are a different beast, and for big men they're an entirely different beast. So I can't get there.
100%. No, I was looking at the roster and I'm like, damn, well, we're 9 deep in like, because man, I'm used to seeing Stanley on the box score and Aaron Baynes and all these guys, and then I realized I'm like, well, we had Siakam, Anunoby, Birch, Lowry, Fred starting. That left Chris Boucher, Gary Trent, and Malachi all coming off the bench. Like, that's a damn good bench, man. If you can ever have Gary Trent Jr. coming off the bench, man, that's pretty damn good for your team. You got Chris Boucher as well coming off the bench. That's pretty damn good. And then it's really up to what you need. If you need playmaking and you need a defensive menace, then maybe you throw in a Malachi Flynn. If you need a guy with DeAndre Bembry's skill set, you throw in him. If you need rebounding and a guy to stop a big, you throw in Gillespie. Because at this point, Oren, I don't know about you, but he's clearly one of the Raptors' best rim protectors. He tries everyone at the rim. Like no one's trying, everyone at the rim, maybe except for Chris Boucher and Gillespie. And it's insane how much Gillespie prides himself on really stopping guys at the rim. So shout out to him as well. Utah, I think, I could see, I don't know, maybe if he's the type of guy who's ready. I'm not ready, Oren, to say, Utah's ready for playoff minutes if we do get there, or even play-in minutes the tournament. But he's been good too, man, the last few weeks. So
I like Utah, yeah.
Yeah, Nick Nurse has some decisions to make, and I think this is a very good situation for Toronto where they face Brooklyn today, and then they're off Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday they have, if I'm not mistaken, the Knicks. And
do they?
Warren, Knicks are hot, man.
Yeah, 7 in a row. They're actually in a battle with Atlanta right now.
Yeah,
for the 4th seed they're playing. So before we go, let's talk about the starting lineup real quick. So they started Birch instead of Trent, which I mean some people saw as controversial. Whatever. I thought it made sense. But I also kind of agree with Guru's comment that JTJ, he does fit in a little bit better with the starters than a bench kind of like Powell. So where do you think they should go with this going forward in terms of who they start?
I think you continue with Gary Trent Jr. off the bench. I'm fine. Like I think the starting lineup that they had tonight is probably their most balanced lineup. You have Khem Birch at the 5, Siakam at the 4, OG at the 3, and then Kyle and Fred. You have 4 guys who can shoot it from the outside, 3 of them who could shoot it extremely well, who are shooting pretty well from 3 this season, OG, Kyle, and Fred. You have Khem, who had a pretty clutch 3. I don't know if people remember in the 4th quarter, he had a pretty clutch 3 at one point.
That was fun.
So Khem is a guy that, I don't know, man. Like if he can shoot a wide open 3, that helps Toronto's offensive versatility even more. But I'm okay with that starting 5, and then you bring in Gary Trent and Chris Boucher as the 6th and 7th men. And then after that, it's really just, whatever you need. Like I said, Malachi, if you need Malachi, if you need Utah, if you need Freddie, if you need all 3, then use them. But I think there's going to come a time, Oren, where Nick Nurse is really going to start bogging down with this lineup with everyone healthy, and he's going to go down to 8 and 9 men, the guys he trusts most to win games.
For sure.
But I'm okay, man. I'm okay with Gary Trent as a 6th man. I don't know if he's necessarily okay with it, especially because he's due to get paid this season, whether it's, $14, $15, $16, $17 million a year, whatever he commands on the market. He's going to get paid this year, and I don't know if he's willing, to be a guy coming off the bench, even though he might be in that final five, that clutch five that Nick Nurse puts out to end games. But yeah, I'm okay with it. I like Kyle, Fred, OG, Siakam, and Birch. I really like that five.
Me too, and it kind of saves OG and Pascal from having to body up with fives all game. And I think Trent will look better as they start to kind of make these rotations, like you said, make the rotation 8 or 9 men, and then also kind of mix up the starters with the bench, because Trent did not look good in that all bench unit because he was kind of just trying to create for himself with these step backs. But when he's playing, even with just a couple starters, you'll see him get more open looks from 3. You'll see him be able to attack a rotating defense better. And that's when he'll shine through. He's not going to shine through when he is asked to create one-on-one, each possession, which was a little bit of what we saw today. So I think, it doesn't really matter to me, like, the money or whatever, because next year could be a different thing. I think he will start next year, especially if Kyle leaves. 100%. Then he's primed to start. But for the end of this season, I don't think he deserves anything kind of thing. Like, he's still young. He didn't start for Portland. So yeah,
that's fair. I mean, he was behind CJ and Dame in Portland, right? He didn't start there either. So and he was really, to be honest, playing a similar role when Portland and Toronto are both healthy. He plays a similar role where they don't necessarily need him to drop 20 like he was doing a game for Toronto a couple weeks ago. They don't need that necessarily. I don't know. The vibe I'm getting, Oren, from the live comments is that I think we're officially anti-tank.
I am. I know I am. Yeah. No, I moved off it a few games ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, part of it, it's a lot of things. One is just that they won with their starters out, and that's kind of something you can't predict or you can't manifest. It just kind of happened. And now that their starters are back, it's really hard to say that they're going to lose because they're good when all their starters are there. And then B, Brooklyn has some significant injuries. They could get the 1 seed. And Joel Embiid left tonight with the 76ers with an injury. And just, I don't trust the Sixers. So that also factors into it for me. It's that even though I wouldn't pick the Raptors to win in any of those series, I would pick them to win the play-in game if they're healthy. And I would pick them to be competitive in those series, especially if the Nets aren't healthy. So it's kind of those two factors for me that make it just I think it'd just be fun to be able to watch a 7-game playoff series or however long it is. It'd just be fun.
Should be so much fun. Now the comments are starting to flood in a bit, anti-tank, jiu-jitsu. I hope I said this right. Jiu-jitsu Teo says no tank. Phoenix says, I don't really care at this point. Both roads are good.
That's where I am too.
I think I'm there too, but if I had a preference, Oren, I feel like you're with me on this. If I had a preference, I'd prefer for them to shoot for that play-in spot. I saw this comment a couple times. You guys always mention one less win record is 25-34. They are 10th. I don't know. I'm looking at the
because
score.
When you looked it up, it was the standings weren't updated yet.
But the thing is, I update it every single game. So I'm looking at the score app right now. It says the Raptors have 24 wins. So unless they didn't update it as well, maybe we're both wrong. Who knows? Someone's gonna have to fact check in the comments, guys. The Raptors have 24 wins or 25 wins. I'm gonna go with 24-34. I'll bet you on it. No. Oren, this was good. This was a lot of fun. The Raptors came out with another win against the Brooklyn Nets. It was a lot of fun. The comments were fun. You guys, made this enjoyable for us. We talked about tons of players in this game. Gary Trent Jr. We talked about OG and Pascal's big game. We talked about Kyrie Irving and my question as to why no one's talking about him in the MVP race. We talked about Khem Birch. A lot of things. I'm excited, man. I think I genuinely believe that, Oren, if there's a team I want to play in the playoffs, it's the 76ers. If the Raptors get there, I'm not getting ahead of myself. If the Raptors get there, they win the play-in. We know what the Raptors do to Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, I'm pretty sure, said it himself that the Raptors play him better than any other team in the league.
Yeah, he did. He just said that on the Zach Lowe's podcast.
Yeah, he did. So shout out to them. The Raptors do apparently have 25 wins. I'm getting that update from the comment section. So that's my fault, guys. I apologize. I shortchanged our Toronto Raptors.
How dare you?
25 wins instead of 34. Or 25 wins and 34 losses. I should say 25 instead of 24. And that's going to do it for us, though. I feel like we did more than enough in this one.
Yeah.
Woo! This was fun. Before you guys leave us tonight, I'm going to ask you guys this every single show. We need you to like, comment, subscribe, like. And we see you guys in the comments, some of you guys. I saw Chris Willis doing it. Saw a couple other people doing it. You know, we appreciate you guys asking people to like. We really appreciate it. We feel like our likes are going up every single video. We're getting more and more views. Of course, that correlates to the Raptors doing well. So Raptors, keep winning games, please. We also want to thank our sponsor, RF Qureshi from Remax, for supporting the show. This was the wrap-up, your Raptors Republic post-game live show, where your Toronto Raptors defeated the Brooklyn Nets 114-103, bringing the Raptors record to 25-34 on the season. I'm your co-host, Sahal Abdi, again here with Orrin Weisfeld. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Guys, it's an afternoon game versus the New York Knicks. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited
Later.
to see them. Take care, guys. Bye.